In his very first 5 games as an official starter in the NBA, Jeremy Lin managed to score more total points than any other player in the entire professional history of the league since the legendary NBA-ABA merger all the way back in 1975. But to truly and deeply understand the sheer magnitude of this unprecedented cultural miracle, you have to look back at exactly where he was standing just 2 agonizing weeks earlier. In the shivering cold of February 2012, he was sleeping in his brother's cramped 1-bedroom apartment in the heart of New York City, refusing to even look at a rental apartment of his own because he was absolutely certain his non-guaranteed contract would be terminated by the team any day. He was effectively a ghost in the professional basketball system. On the morning of February 4th, 2012, his agent gave him the final, brutal, and chilling reality check that changed everything. If you don't play well tonight, it'll probably be your last game in the NBA. Hours later, the New York Knicks faced the New Jersey Nets at the world-famous Madison Square Garden. The team was in a state of absolute and total desperation, depleted by critical injuries to key guards like the veteran Baron Davis and the young standout Iman Shumpert. This left coach Mike D'Antoni with his back against the wall and no choice but to call on his 4th-string point guard. Before that historic night, Lin was so invisible to the general public that security guards at the garden entrance would routinely stop him, mistaking him for a personal trainer or even a member of the medical staff. They didn't see an elite NBA athlete when they looked at him. They saw an Asian kid who, in their biased eyes, simply didn't belong on a professional NBA floor. But by the time the final buzzer sounded that night, the entire world would never be able to forget his name. Within a single month, he became the most famous athlete on the planet, outselling global legends like Kobe Bryant and LeBron James in jersey sales, and proving to everyone that the most incredible path to superstardom is often the one that nobody, not even the most seasoned experts, ever sees coming. Jeremy Lin was overlooked, ignored, and dismissed at every single level of the game of basketball during his upbringing. It began in Palo Alto, California, where he led his high school team to a staggering 32-1 record and a legendary state championship victory over the nationally ranked powerhouse Mater Dei. Despite averaging 16.4 points, 4.5 assists, and 2.4 steals as a senior, the silence from major college recruiters was absolutely deafening. He literally grew up living across the street from Stanford University, a school he had dreamed of attending his entire life, but their coaches didn't even bother to send him a formal recruitment letter. Neither did UCLA or any other prestigious Division I program in the country. The reason for this was a toxic and unfair cocktail of racial stereotypes. Scouts saw a 6'1", 170-pound Asian American kid and immediately checked the unathletic box in their minds without a second thought or a deeper look into his actual skill set. He eventually chose to attend Harvard University, not because of an athletic scholarship, since the Ivy League doesn't even offer them, but primarily because he was a brilliant student with a 4.2 GPA. As a freshman, he was the physically weakest player on the Harvard roster, but he adapted with a legendary and tireless work ethic. By his junior year, he was averaging 17.8 points and 5.5 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 2.4 steals, becoming the only player in all of Division I history to rank in the top 10 of his conference in every single major statistical category. His breakout moment arrived against 12th-ranked UConn, where he scorched future NBA star Kemba Walker for 30 points and 9 rebounds. He graduated as an Ivy League all-time leader in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. Yet, during the 2010 NBA draft, all 30 teams passed on him not once, but twice. He was a man with the talent of a lottery pick, but the look of a permanent outsider to the NBA establishment. The most damning evidence of the deep-seated bias against Lin came from Daryl Morey of the Houston Rockets, who later admitted that their advanced computer models projected Lin as the 15th best player in the entire draft class. However, the human scouts didn't trust the cold data because Lin didn't pass their subjective and biased eye test. Years later, when they measured the speed of a player's first two steps, they found that Lin had the quickest first step of any player they had ever tested in the history of the franchise. He was mathematically and physically elite, but because of the color of his skin and his ethnicity, the experts had convinced themselves he was fundamentally unathletic and slow. After being waived by the Warriors and the Rockets, Lin joined the Knicks. During the NBA lockout, he transformed himself, doubling the weight he could squat from a mere 110 pounds to a massive 231 pounds and tripling his pull-up capacity from 12 to 30 reps. He added 12 pounds of pure muscle, which added 6 inches to his vertical jump and improved his lateral quickness by a staggering 32%. Despite this incredible physical transformation, he remained the backup's backup in New York. The night before the Nets game, he was effectively homeless, sleeping on teammate Landry Field's 6-foot rental couch because he was too afraid of being cut to sign a formal lease for an apartment. He was facing the crushing weight of a professional dream that was about to vanish into thin air forever. On February 4th, the explosion finally happened. Facing all-star Darren Williams and the Nets, Lin erupted for 25 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. In his very next game against Utah, without stars Carmelo Anthony and Amare Stoudemire, he led all scorers with 28 points and 8 assists. Suddenly, Linsanity was a global wildfire. He traveled to Washington and outplayed John Wall, the fastest guard in the league, recording 23 points and 10 assists. But the true pinnacle arrived when the Los Angeles Lakers came to town. Before the game, Kobe Bryant was asked about Lin and dismissively replied,
"I don't even know what he's done. I have no idea what you guys are talking about."
Lin responded by scoring a career-high 38 points, outscoring Kobe Bryant himself in a legendary masterclass at Madison Square Garden. He hit a dagger 3 right in front of the Lakers bench, and the Garden exploded in a way it hadn't in decades. A few days later in Toronto, with the score tied in the final seconds, Lin did the unthinkable. He waved away his veteran teammates, controlled the clock like a 10-year veteran, and buried a game-winning three-pointer with just 0.5 seconds left on the clock. In the month of February, he averaged 22 points and 9 assists, leading the Knicks to a 10-3 record and appearing on back-to-back covers of Sports Illustrated. He wasn't just a basketball player, he was a global phenomenon that transcended the sport and inspired millions of people around the world. The Linsanity era ended abruptly due to a meniscus tear and a poison pill contract offer from Houston that New York declined to match. Lin would play 7 more seasons, eventually becoming the first Asian American to win an NBA title with the Toronto Raptors in 2019. Though he was forced to retire from the NBA at 30 due to injuries, his impact was permanent. Jeremy Lin later reflected that while his race made Linsanity a bigger story, it was also the primary reason for the barriers he had to shatter. While Yao Ming was a physical anomaly at 7 feet 6 inches, Lin proved that an average-sized Asian player could dominate the league through pure skill and heart. For those 2 magical months, Jeremy Lin wasn't just a basketball player, he was a symbol of hope for anyone who has ever been told they don't belong.